Whether you operate one forklift or thousands, one location or hundreds, the new My Toyota customer portal can help you optimize your operation and material handling equipment. This one-stop, free-to-use platform is designed to help you take control of your information and make smarter decisions, all at the touch of a button. Register and access your data today at my.toyotaforklift.com. That's my.toyotaforklift.com.
Hi, this is Paige Johnson from Toyota Material Handling, and you're listening to the New Warehouse Podcast. Today's safety tip is to stop, point, and look before crossing any drive aisle. Make sure to make eye contact with any powered industrial equipment operator before proceeding.
With e-commerce off the charts, many small and growing warehouses are asking, how can I get ahead when my warehouse is barely keeping up? The answer is future-ready warehouse tech from Zebra Technologies. Warehouses can simplify and upgrade all processes, from automated inventory management to hands-free picking, with Zebra's tailored, scalable mobile solutions. They're simple and intuitive. There's never been a better time to upgrade for success with Zebra. How can your warehouse get ahead? The answer's in black and white. Get the answers at zebra.com/theanswer. That's zebra.com/theanswer. Businesses are retooling fulfillment operations, from warehouses to omnichannel, to meet new demand amid unprecedented labor shortages. 3PLs, retailers, B2B distributors, and others are turning to flexible fulfillment solutions like 6 River Systems to adapt and scale. 6 River Systems' Fulfillment Execution System is an integrated solution that combines intelligent, cloud-based software and automation, including its autonomous mobile robot, AMR, Chuck. No costly or disruptive infrastructure changes, fast and easy associate training, and integrations with other warehouse execution solutions allow operations to meet labor challenges, increase efficiency, and enhance customer engagement. Go to www.6river.com to learn more. Go to www.6river.com to learn more.
The New Warehouse Podcast, hosted by Kevin Lawton, is your source for insights and ideas from the distribution, transportation, and logistics industry. A new episode every Monday morning brings you the latest from industry experts and thought leaders. And now, here's Kevin.
Hey, it's Kevin Lawton with the New Warehouse Podcast, bringing you a new episode today. On today's episode, I have 2 guests from Toyota Material Handling. I have Dixon Churchill, who is the Environmental Health and Safety Manager there, and I have Paige Johnson, who is Environmental Health and Safety Supervisor. They're going to talk to us about Toyota Material Handling and how they handle safety there and safety in the industry and material handling overall. And we're also going to reflect a little bit on the recent win of the Governor's Award for Workplace Safety, what's that all about, and how they were able to achieve that. So, Paige and Dixon, welcome to the show. How are you both this morning?
We're doing great. Thank you, Kevin.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
doing well.
Definitely happy to have you both on. Happy to be talking about safety. I think safety is the number one topic, or should be the number one topic when it comes to material handling. We have so much going on in the space and so many moving things and potentials for hazards, and we need to be as aware as possible to be able to prevent those hazards and having any type of injury within our warehouses, distribution centers, fulfillment centers, whatever you want to call them or whatever you work within. So before we kind of dive into the safety discussion and safety talk, why don't one of you give us kind of just a brief overview of Toyota Material Handling and what that component of Toyota consists of?
Sure, I'll take that question. So Toyota Material Handling began manufacturing Toyota forklifts in the United States in 1990. That operation started in Columbus, Indiana, and continues to this day. We've went through about 16 expansions since that early 1990s. Today, we employ about 1,700 people on our campus, and we do a variety of manufacturing activities, including metal fabrication, welding, painting, and then assembly of the vehicles, and then quality inspections before we ship those out. All assembly is occurring on that first shift. We do have some limited work that's done on a third shift for metal fabrication, welding, and painting.
Okay.
We have about 1.5 million square feet under roof, and we produce about 175 to 180 forklifts a day.
Oh, wow.
Our product includes internal combustion engines and electrical powered trucks, and they range from a capacity of 1 ton up to about 8 ton that we produce in this facility.
Very interesting. And obviously, Toyota is such a large company with many different components. So it's interesting to hear about the material handling side. And 175 to 180 forklifts a day, that's a lot more than I guess I was thinking that would be produced in a day. So it's very interesting to hear that little tidbit there. But obviously, Toyota as a company is very much known for the culture that they've created and the TPS. People have studied it, tried to adopt it for their own, and getting into that type of culture and making sure that their manufacturing can get to that level or whatever their operation or business is. So I'm curious from that perspective on the safety side, how is safety integrated into that well-known Toyota culture?
Yeah, safety is really at the heart of our Toyota culture here in Columbus. If it weren't for our associates, we wouldn't even be in business. They're our most important asset, and we have to be committed to their health and safety every day. One of our core values here at Toyota is to build a home-like atmosphere. Okay. So that's what we try to instill in our people. We teach them to look out for one another like family, report concerns, and communicate any Kaizen or improvement activities that they may have so that we can always get better and ultimately help each other carry the load. As cheesy as it may sound, safety does come first at Toyota. We start all of our daily management meetings by reviewing safety first. It's pretty much that ingrained into our culture.
Yeah, and I think it's a great thing that you said there in the beginning is that, without your associates, you wouldn't be in business, right? So they're integral to making the operation happen, and obviously you want them to come in and leave just the way that they came in at the end of the day. So it's very great that you guys are focused on making sure that safety is integral and is the number one thing that's always brought up. And I think that consistency is a key when you see that safety is always the first thing that's being talked about, like you mentioned in the management meetings and in different meetings. So, one of the foundations I think, and at least in my experience in warehousing material handling is that, safety starts with the proper training, right? And unfortunately, there's a lot of companies where safety maybe is not the number one priority, right? Or it's not as focused. And so when you get associates and employees in, maybe they haven't necessarily had that safety background or exposure to a safety focused culture in the past. So at Toyota, I'm curious, how does the safety itself happen from a training perspective? What does the safety component of the training program look like?
We'll be back after a quick break.
You hear a lot about supply chains these days, because if the past couple years have taught us anything, it's that an efficient, well-managed supply chain is absolutely critical to keeping businesses successful and consumers happy. I'm Will Haywood, and I host a podcast called All Business, No Boundaries, where we talk about supply chains, how they work, what happens when they don't, and the innovations that are redefining what's possible in the world of logistics. Join me for insightful interviews with thought leaders and industry experts. We discuss how optimizing supply chains can break down the barriers that are holding businesses back. That's All Business, No Boundaries by DHL Supply Chain. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, that's a great question. We have associates that come from all different backgrounds and industries with different, training backgrounds. We utilize a lot of different training methods here on site, but one of the most unique pieces of that training is our really comprehensive induction process. So when we get a new associate, they go through several days of training, and there's lots of different, things that they get trained on, from code of conduct and, assembly things to safety. And for safety, we have designed a pretty unique hands-on, what we call safety dojo space. And this safety dojo is a place where our associates go to learn. There's real tools and props and personal protective equipment that they can touch and see and try on. We have fire extinguishers that they can test out. We do lifting demonstrations. It's really interactive, and we try to make it a fun and engaging experience, because a lot of times that safety training, can be kind of boring. So we try to liven things up a little bit. And we also use that safety dojo space annually with all of our associates to do refresher training. So that's one unique training method that we use. Another unique training method is, we build forklifts here. So obviously we want to have our operators be industry leading powered industrial vehicle operators. So we also have a powered industrial vehicle dojo. So it's a space that we have designated. We've used valuable manufacturing real estate in our plant, and we've designed a simulated warehouse space with racks and aisle widths and equipment. And after passing a written exam for forklift training, our associates go to that space and get to do hands-on equipment training in a safe space, but it's very much like what they're going to see when they get out to their process. So that's been a huge asset for us to use that space and develop the best forklift operators that we can.
Very interesting. And I think it's a huge testament to the importance of your safety. As you mentioned in there, you're taking what would be valuable space for manufacturing and doing processes that are maybe more associated with revenue generation, right? And dedicating it to the safety aspect and making sure that employees are trained the way that they should be properly. So I'm curious, you mentioned there too, like about how, safety training can oftentimes be somewhat boring, right? You have these safety protocols and maybe, it's just someone standing there just reading them out to you, trying to make them as interesting as possible. So where did the idea for this safety dojo come from to give like actual hands-on real types of experiences and take that safety training and make it more interesting and more engaging in a sense?
Kevin, I first experienced this probably 15 years ago in Japan, and they had put together a safety dojo, and the concept just seemed very remarkable. Again, anytime you can do something more, if you can put your hands on it, it helps a lot of us as learners rather than simply listening or seeing. Right. And so the combination of all of those aspects of learning together, it just seemed like a good idea. So it started relatively small, and we just had a few things with PPE and maybe hazard warning labels. But over the years, we've continued to build that primary safety dojo and add many different components. We'll add a lot of things that went wrong, things that where somebody got hurt. We can use the tools or the equipment, and we can explain those examples, and people can see that. They can see and understand. There was a glove that got caught on a bit that was rotating, and so by being able to physically see those and know somebody got hurt, I think it helps really drive the points home regarding the safety. So the concept basically initially started for us, at least in Japan, having visited there. Right. And then we've just tried to continue to build on that. And eventually, as Paige mentioned, probably our climax was when we were given the space to do that PIV dojo, that powered industrial vehicle training. Right. Again, we have valuable space in two areas, one for the primary dojo and the second in the plant for the PIV dojo. So that's kind of a little history. I think we were the first Toyota facility in our industrial equipment group that had one in the United States, but very quickly as we kind of spread out and had some other manufacturing related facilities, they all have them as well now at this point.
Yeah, it's a very interesting concept, and I think it's certainly something that I'm sure has helped to improve your safety record as well. And being able to have that hands-on and like you mentioned, the interesting thing there too, I think with the glove example, catching on the bit you mentioned, you're able to sort of reenact in a sense, or show people actually what happened that maybe were not around or present at the time that a safety incident happened, and being able to get people to understand and then kind of root cause and help them understand, which would have been the right way to do this, or what corrective action are we taking to make sure this doesn't happen again, I think is a great way to look at it. And I think, like you said, we learn better when we're engaging more hands-on and really understanding what could potentially happen or what happens in different scenarios. So, with the safety aspect, obviously you guys are providing equipment to other people in the material handling industry to utilize in their spaces, whether it's manufacturing, warehousing, whatever the case may be. So having such a strong safety culture and safety focused culture, how do you pass that on to your customers and help to try and help those customers also have a robust safety program as well?
Yeah, so I'll start by saying that, as environmental health and safety professionals in the manufacturing environment here at Toyota, our primary customers are our associates. Right. So we try to pass on that safety culture to them by leading by example and helping them work safely every day. It's really important to listen to our associates and address issues promptly when they arise so that they know that we value their safety. But having said that, we also do interact with customers and dealers and other visitors that come to our Toyota Columbus facility to do benchmarking and tour our facility. We have a great program for that here. And when we have those visitors come in, we love to take the opportunity to share some of our best practices, things that we've learned over the many years, and try to share some of those things with them. So I think that's how we try to pass that safety culture on to our customers.
Interesting. So is it open? I'm curious, you had said you had this program. So is it open to your customers to kind of come to your facility and see what you guys are doing, like the safety dojo and things of that nature? Yeah,
I mean, there is a department, and I'm not a part of that department, but a customer experience department, if you will, that our customers can reach out to Toyota Material Handling and ask to come on site and to tour our facility and to do benchmarking and learn about our lean manufacturing process. And I mean, we're doing these types of visits quite frequently, and safety often gets invited to participate in those visits.
That's very interesting, and I think that's a great thing. That not only are you guys, internally servicing your internal customers, as you mentioned, from a safety aspect, and ensuring that they know that they're protected and their safety interest is top of mind. But the fact that you guys are then willing and able to open up and share to the community as a whole from a safety perspective, I think can only help people in the industry have new takeaways and new learnings. And I'm sure you guys see other companies that are doing things as well in the safety aspect and adopt some of those things too. I think from a safety perspective, we should all be totally collaborative and working together, because, we want, at the end of the day, everyone to be as safe as possible, whether they, work for my company or whether they work for your company. That shouldn't really matter, right? So with that being said, and you mentioned there the internal customers and ensuring that, they know that things are being addressed right away and there's an urgency to taking care of safety. With safety protocols and safety rules, oftentimes some things may tend to get mundane and people tend to get complacent in a sense, and that's oftentimes where a lot of safety incidents can occur. So I'm curious, how do you at Toyota Material Handling, at your facility, how do you consistently ensure that safety protocols are being followed, and that the employees are not getting complacent in that sense?
Well, I'll take that one, Kevin. We do a lot of just continuous reminders. So every day, earlier Paige mentioned, we start everything with safety. So there's for the lack of a better term, toolbox talk that's given to each associate at the beginning of the shift. And again, that also starts with a key safety items that we talk about if any incidents occurred, whether they be machinery, powered industrial vehicle related, or whether they're injury related. We talk about those. So everybody in the facility knows about that incident and discuss the morning following. Throughout the day, all the leadership gets a quick notification if one of those type events occur. And so again, they can make application quickly to their departments, which is what we want them to do the following morning with the associates. Also, we'll do a weekly safety focus point. And within that, we pick a topic every week that has some relevance to either recent items that we've seen that are maybe where people are getting complacent, and we'll focus in on that. Again, we'll share that the Friday before the following week, and then we reiterate that on Monday morning with the management team. It's in that daily communication document for all associates, and again, that's how we try to avoid the complacency. But that in itself, just saying something, has to be followed up by the leadership on the shop floor as well as our management team. We're all, again, just as responsible to look for those focus points and to try to identify when we see gaps in that throughout the week. So that's one way it kind of keeps our minds refreshed. And again, the safety team kind of drives what we think those will be. We typically pick those out a month at a time. We also share those with our departmental safety committee. And we give them something related to that topic each week for them to observe while they're in their processes in their departments. And they turn in a document at the end of that week on that safety focus point. And it identifies if they see gaps, and then the leadership gets that information and tries to make corrections as well. So that's just trying to keep the awareness out there on the shop floor. Another thing that we will do as a safety team, we'll kind of take a weekly audit of a given department. So we get through all the departments about twice a year, and we use an eye auditor system, electronic system, to do those audits. We take pictures, we record those, drop them down into a database, and then that corrective action is assigned to the responsible party, whether that be the department supervisor or whether that be maintenance or engineering. And then we track those open items that need corrective action on a regular basis. So we're constantly putting things in front of all of our minds to remind us, and going back and look at our trends through other means of just record keeping, trying to identify what our focus points should be. But we put something new and fresh out in front of our people every week.
Very interesting. Yeah. I'm always interested to hear kind of how people tackle that in their operations, because I think that complacency is, and I don't know if you guys agree, but it's certainly a part where things people get kind of a little lazy in a sense, and they forget those little safety things in between that are helping them to prevent from accidents or other types of incidents. So in addition, I'm curious, within our industry, certainly there's a lot of technology that is evolving, and new equipment that's coming out to help us do our jobs a little better, and automating and different things of that nature. So when you have something new come into your facility, it's a new piece of equipment that employees will be working with, how do you kind of adjust safety protocols, and how do you ensure that your safety program is evolving with newer technology in the industry as well?
I'll give you a couple of examples of recent technology changes that we are addressing and dealing with. The first one would be automatic guided vehicles. Those are unmanned vehicles delivering parts throughout the plant. So again, that's a new technology. Not only are we using it, we are helping to design with some of our sister companies and helping to implement that. So we want to use it in our facility, of course, and we want to stay up with the times as well. We want our customers to see that when they come in here to look at our product. And so that in itself, just trying to get the logistics of when you've got paths crossing of multiple automatic guided vehicles, or you have human operated powered industrial equipment and those automatic guided vehicles, trying to get all of that sequenced properly. So that's been a more recent challenge and opportunity for us in the last couple of years. We have several different processes that carry product across the plant and intersect one another now. And so some of the things that we do early on, engineering usually has the lead on this. And as they begin to develop a plan, they'll involve us as well as the safety touch points. We'll go through the planning. We'll understand what they're going to do. We'll eventually sign off on their purchases as well, both from a safety and an environmental standpoint. And then when that comes in, we'll be involved in the testing. And before implementation, we're going to be, again, there and involved. Any small pieces of equipment, even that are put in usually during the weekends or overnight, they contact us and we'll go do an inspection or an audit of that as well. And if we're putting something in like this automatic guided vehicle into a new area, we're going to continue to monitor that for a few days. We're going to follow up with the associates that are having interaction with it and look for ways and opportunities to improve that. So that's maybe one example. We would do that type of thing for most any new piece of equipment. Another example that at least pops into my mind is the lithium-ion batteries. So that's become pretty popular in automobiles, but it's also becoming very popular for the same reasons in powered industrial equipment. And that brings a whole new set of risks from thermal runaway. If you're mishandling those or you bust the battery open, you've got a higher significant risk of a larger fire. And so just some examples in regards to that. That's a whole new field of the industry for us. We're actually even looking at manufacturing lithium-ion batteries internally. So that's been a process of us just learning from outside sources, trying to gather information from our property risk insurance company, looking at sometimes even competitors, but also other industries that are making lithium-ion batteries to try to learn from them. And your point earlier is very well taken. We'll often approach sometimes even a competitor and talk to them saying, hey, this is for the good of safety of all. It's not something we're trying to keep to ourselves. There's no, trade secrets are one thing, but people's overall safety, we can learn from one another and we can share information. And we do that likewise with them.
Yeah, very interesting. I was curious about that because obviously, recently being at Modex, we see there's, so many different technologies coming into the space. And I'm just curious how you guys handle that because we see a lot of times, I think, companies where, they want to bring new technology in because they're struggling to keep up or, they're having issues getting enough labor and things of that nature. And maybe they want to, rush a solution in. So it's good to hear that you guys are taking the time up front to figure out the safety aspects of that and then continuously, monitoring and auditing along the way. Whereas I think, maybe some companies might take the approach of, implementing, putting the technology in, and then, thinking about the safety afterwards, which I think is the wrong way to go. So very interesting to hear from you guys and certainly understand how Toyota kind of looks at safety in that sense and Toyota Material Handling specifically, what you guys are doing at your facility. And the safety that you guys have been doing, you recently were recognized by winning a Governor's Award for Workplace Safety. So tell us a little bit about that award and how you were able to achieve that award.
Yeah, we're really proud of that accomplishment. We were awarded the 2022 Indiana Governor's Award for Workplace Safety. And this was a result of some dramatic reduction in our recordable injuries over the past couple years.
Okay.
And that award was in the partnership category. There are several different categories that the Governor's Award is given, and we won in the partnership. So a little background, in the fall of 2020, we partnered with another company called ATI Worksite Solutions.
Okay.
And they helped us develop and provide a new model for occupational health and wellness for our associates here in Columbus. And this model is really focused on injury prevention, number one, early intervention, number two, and then also work conditioning and overall wellness for our associates. So as a part of this, how it's kind of structured, it's really unique. It's a unique model. We have two certified, what they're called certified early intervention specialists. They're athletic trainers. Okay. And then we also have a full-time occupational health nurse practitioner, a on-site physical therapist, and several health and wellness specialists. So we have a full team of experts, in health and wellness. And we use them and tap into their extensive expertise to help drive our recordable injuries down. So the way that we're doing that, those athletic trainers that I mentioned, they have experience working with athletes of all types, but also industrial athletes like you would see in a manufacturing facility. Right. And they're on the floor 40 hours a week, both of them, working with our associates on job coaching and stretching programs, ergonomics. They help us, treat those minor first aid injuries and like musculoskeletal strains and sprains, that type of thing. They also help us conduct ergonomic assessments and make our processes better through Kaizen. And in addition to the athletic trainers, we implemented a 5-day work conditioning program, which is another unique offering, I think, here at Toyota. It's 5 days long for our brand new associates that are going on our shop floor. Yeah. And it's an hour each day. We have a state-of-the-art fitness center, recreation center on our property with cardio equipment, full gym, you name it, we have it. And we use that space for 1 hour a day for 5 days for the new people. Yeah. And we teach them stretching, light aerobic activity, some strength training, but we really try to prepare them and give them a taste of what their job's going to be like when they get into their process, because our processes are physically demanding, and we try to prepare them and set them up for success, if you will. And in addition to that, we also like to get them acquainted with the fitness center, because we hope they use it for their general health and wellness, right? Yeah. And so with all those things that I've mentioned and more that I'm probably forgetting, we had a 59% reduction in our total case incident rate or recordable cases since the time that ATI came on site. So that's huge, a huge reduction. And historically, we would have a large percentage of those recordable injuries coming from our new people. And about over 50% of our injuries were coming from people within their first year of employment, which makes sense. You're getting used to the, you're getting used to the process. But since our work conditioning program was implemented, that number is reduced to 35%. So we're seeing a nice decrease, in those injuries. So to give you some perspective, in 2021, which was the first complete year ATI was on site here, we had nearly 6,000 separate associate encounters. So that would include the job coaching, medical appointments, follow-ups, educational conversations. So 6,000 times we interacted with an associate to help improve their health and wellness and safety. So wow. Pretty cool program. I'm real pumped about it. I'm excited to see what's to come in the future. So
yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, the fact that you guys have put this whole kind of health and wellness team in there, I think is something I certainly don't see every day, I would say. Right. But obviously the results are, I mean, a 59% reduction is huge. And obviously, certainly warrants the award, I would say. I mean, I'm no judge of the award over here, but I would say it's certainly warranted there. So, I'm curious, because a lot of times I think the safety can be reactive in a sense instead of preventative. And you're talking about the results you've had from implementing these different things. But a lot of people may be listening and thinking like, well, if I went and told my boss that I want to bring in like a health and wellness team to help reduce safety incidents, he might just like laugh at me, right? So I'm curious, in these types of things, when you try new things and start to implement different things for safety aspects, you don't necessarily have the justification until after the fact, in a sense. So how do you guys justify bringing in different solutions and different types of things like this program you mentioned to be able to address some safety issues?
Well, obviously, Kevin, we have to sell it up front, and we're not always successful. We're certainly not always as successful as this particular model was. Mm-hmm. In this situation, we were changing healthcare providers for our general population.
Okay.
And in those discussions and negotiations, we were interviewing, and I was a participant in that panel, but we were interviewing candidates, and we had one candidate, one company, ATI, that was really strong on the workers' comp side, and we had another candidate that was probably in just the personal health was stronger than what ATI would have been.
Okay.
And so the intent was it's, one of multiple companies. And we came down to those last two. And fortunately, we had the buy-in from some of our executive staff to allow us to do a hybrid system and let us to bring in ATI for the workers' comp side or the occupational health side, and to bring in the other company. And that took a little work for those two companies to work together and to share some real estate inside our physical fitness center and our medical center. But fortunately, again, we're still working on that, still perfecting and trying to improve that. But we got the buy-in. One of the things that was helpful in putting the athletic trainers, of course, they suggested bringing in more than the original two, but we said we'll start with two. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Well, after 1 year, and last year when we were planning and budgeting, ironically, our president said, with this great progress you've made, do you think we can add more people from ATI and increase our effectiveness of reducing incident rates even more? And so with that, we're actually looking to add an additional ergonomist to help us, again, further take us to that next step. So, I think your original question, how do we get that? How do we justify that? Mm-hmm. Toyota's not afraid to be challenged with new ideas and new concepts.
Right.
And we have to do that to stay ahead of our competition and to be competitive and even to care for our workforce. And so this is just an example where I think we took a bit of a risk, and it paid off really well. The dividends were really high, and it's allowing us to hopefully even take it further into the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the numbers show that the risk was worth it, certainly. And I think it's a great testament to what you guys are doing from a safety standpoint, and willing to take a risk and try something that could potentially increase the wellness of the workers there. And obviously, it sounds like a great place to work as well, with all these things going on, and you guys really care about the employees. So it's been very interesting to hear about the safety in your workplace there, and how you handle it, and how it's involved and ingrained into the culture. So before we kind of close out here on our discussion, you guys are safety people, safety gurus, maybe we could say. So I want to hear from each one of you. What's your number one safety tip for warehouse workers? How about Paige, you want to go first?
Sure. I would say my number one tip for associates working in a warehouse or manufacturing environment is to communicate, and for the leadership to listen. I mean, that's going to be the keystone of a good safety culture, is that communication and constant Kaizen.
Okay. All right. Very good. And I definitely agree. Communication it's a huge part of it. And Dixon, how about you? What's your number one safety tip for warehouse workers?
Well, I'll jump to more the physical aspect of the safety culture there. One of the things that I think really shows and it actually tells people where you're at is what your facility looks like. So keeping your floors and your work areas clean, well lit, making sure your aisles are well marked and clear at all times. Again, that's a part of, we often refer to that as 5S, but that's a part of building that safety culture. And if people see that and know you're serious about that, then you'll win them over and make them a part of that team.
All right, very interesting. And I love a clean warehouse, I will say. I am very obsessed with that. So great to hear from the both of you, and very interesting, great safety tips and safety advice that you shared with everybody here today. If people want to find out more about Toyota Material Handling and potentially look at that customer experience thing you mentioned, how can they do that?
I would say most of our things come through our dealerships and into our customer service center, and so they can get on the website for
ToyotaForklift.com.
Yeah, and you can gather information, probably set up even appointment, ask questions for our sales side. They would help them. And if they have questions that related to safety, still take them through there, and they would probably contact us if there were specific things.
All right, great. And we'll put all that information at thenewwarehouse.com as well. So Paige and Dixon, thank you so much for joining me on the show today and sharing all this great safety knowledge.
You've been listening to the New Warehouse Podcast with Kevin Lawton. Subscribe and check us out online at thenewwarehouse.com.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you want more content from the New Warehouse, check out our new video series called All Hands on LinkedIn. Just search for the New Warehouse on LinkedIn and follow along.